Hello, everybody, and welcome to Microsoft's webinar series. We have a very popular and compelling topic for you today. NextGen PSA Dynamics 365 for Project Service Automation. My name is Michael Tronto, and I'm a Strategic Account Specialist at Microsoft. I'm also joined on today's webcast with Scott Daly, our Senior Account Executive. The line will not be open for questions, but feel free to use the chat feature or email us directly, and we'll be happy to answer your questions that way. We'll also be including our contact information at the very end. If for some reason you get distracted or pulled away during the webinar, no need to worry. I will be emailing the recording and slide deck of today's presentation. I will now hand off the webcast to Scott Daly. Scott?
All right, thank you, Mike. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. Just a little bit about the structure of what we're going to do. We are going to show some slides at the start. I know everybody loves slides, but in the end, we hope to kind of forearm you in case you need to go back to your management, or in case you are in management, need to make a case for moving forward with a professional services implementation. At the same time, we will absolutely get to a demo, which will meet everyone's expectations, I'm absolutely certain. So we're going to show some slides kind of talking about the state of the market. Then I'm going to show a couple slides talking about the tools themselves, and then we'll move on to demo. And then finally, at the very end, we'll circle back and talk a little bit about Microsoft. So Dynamics 365, right off the bat, sometimes people are still think a couple things about Dynamics that are probably not really as broad as they should be. Number one, people hear Dynamics and they think CRM. There's a lot more to it than that, and we're going to talk about that. The second thing is sometimes people hear Dynamics and they think accounting system, and again, there's a lot more to it than that as well. These days, Dynamics is a platform that delivers both business solutions and is highly customizable for whatever your company may be doing. To that point, sales here, which is CRM, is one thing amongst others, including customer service, field service, operations, marketing, and the point of this particular webinar, project service automation. And it's all tied together across the common application. You may hear the phrase common data service. You may hear about Power Apps. You may hear about Microsoft Flow. Okay, so as a unified work management platform, Dynamics does a lot of things that, like I said, you may not realize Dynamics does. So across the bottom, of course, we do things like projects, but also to-dos, approvals, bugs, tasks, backlogs. At the next level up, we have kind of prepackaged business solutions around strategic portfolio planning, project portfolio management, professional services automation, the subject of this call, and field service automation. And it's important that we kind of set the stage for this so that you understand, and we'll keep repeating this. These are all part of a unified environment. So while you may only choose to implement one in response to whatever your business context is, these things don't become isolated and siloed. They continue to be part of a unified approach to solving business problems. Project, Visual Studio, Salesforce, ServiceNow, SAP, other line of business, they can all be integrated and leveraged as part of a dynamic suite. And then across the top, of course, we are able to kind of look at this at a very high level and say, look, what do I need to do? Do I need time management? Do I need to provide business intelligence to my executives? Do I need to provide resource management? So with that, what is professional service automation? PSA, it's an established category in software designed to assist professionals with project management and resource management. Now, so what does that mean? In terms of how PSA was built and in terms of how we'll look at it for this demo, it talks about, we're going to talk about opportunity, contract, project management, labor, things like that. The interesting piece is that a lot of these items can change with a very slight bit of reconfiguration to suit the classic PMO set of requirements. So in the case of opportunity management, Dynamics is terrific because it flows straight through CRM, and you can move straight from an opportunity to a contract, to a project, to staffing. But you could also look at this in terms of ideas. Project submissions, and the contract could then become the business case that you would do internally, and then you move forward through project management and labor utilization. Now, in all these cases, what you're doing will determine the specifics of your configuration, but the flexibility is there to handle all these things depending on which perspective you'd like to come at this from. The rise of the customer is an interesting concept in that we're moving forward from a world where the process is the most important thing to a world where the customer's satisfaction is the most important thing. The outcome that the customer wants is the most important thing, and the thing that will drive continued customer engagement. Now, in terms of PSA, this means things like services delivered. You know, you asked for an implementation you asked for an Oracle implementation, for example. Did it get done on time? Did it get done on budget? That's kind of a classic case. But how quickly did it get done? How many times were you communicated with? You know, the classic methods that we saw for years gone past are probably no longer good enough in the age of the customer. Flip it around, and if this is internal, your customer is often a business unit that may be consuming IT services. Same thing goes. How can we communicate with and manage the expectations and the happiness of our customer? And again, it's being driven by a change in technology and the economy at large. People expect to have things come to them the same way they do through the App Store on their phone. In this new economy, what we're finding, ironically, is that people are becoming more project-based, even though they may not call it that. People are demanding greater predictability, not less. They're willing to be more flexible and they want greater speed, but they absolutely are also hoping that they get what they expect and that they feel comfortable about it. Obviously, everything is becoming less and less centralized and much more spread out. Consequently, a system like Dynamics is critical to reunify all that information and not constantly have people trying to skip from one system to the next. Professional services roles. Again, we're going to talk about these and we're going to demo these. I think anybody that's had any experience with a consulting firm is going to recognize these things as practice director, resource manager, director of PMO team members. Again, and I'm sure you'll hear Joe say this as well when he's doing his demo. These are roles that, with a slight adjustment, can also reflect internal roles. So your practice director might switch over to being something more like a director of an internal set of resources that they need to make that they need to leverage to make people happy. The PMO director obviously kind of translates across both. The impact of disconnected processes and systems, which is exactly what Dynamics speaks to, is really profound. And I don't have to go through all of this. I'm sure everybody is very aware of this. What people tend to lose sight of is that not only is the end customer unhappy switching between disparate systems, but internal employees grow increasingly unhappy, and not necessarily because they have to do work or because their lives are complicated, but because they want to do the best for the people they're working for. And anytime the system is a barrier to making somebody else happy that you want to make happy, you're going to look at that product and say, gee, I would really, if I could make these improvements, my life would be better, and consequently so would my ultimate customer. So one of the big advantages that comes out of leveraging, say, PSA on Dynamics, again, is that it's part of a unified platform. Nothing will be isolated. It'll be available across everything else. Process maturity drives business performance. This is one of the things that people often lose sight of. They can look at process maturity as a spend, as an overhead, but the truth is that when you have people that are constantly over on level 1, acting as heroes just to get simple things done, there's a tremendous amount of energy going into doing things that should be quite simple. As you rise through the levels and you're able to finally achieve collaborative excellence, which very few organizations do, it's not something that's a normal thing to find in the marketplace. What you find is that people's energy and their focus and their passion goes into actually producing what makes customers or internal clients happy. And that, of course, ultimately is always the goal, is that you take the energy that's spent just doing the basic and obvious over here on a heroic level, and you turn it into even more satisfaction so that people are deliriously happy with the outputs from your professional services organization or from your internal IT organization. So that said, in terms of background, let's talk about project service automation as a solution on Dynamics and what it does. You can see we have the various roles arranged across the top. You can see that we do support mobile. This is a cloud-based product, and it is globally available. We're going to cover quickly opportunity management, project planning, resource management, team collaboration, time and expenses, customer billing, analytics, and integration. Again, you'll see all of this in the demo as well. So we're going to go through this, make sure that everybody understands what we're seeing, and then we'll go through the demo. Sales activity social dashboard, the fundamentals of opportunity management. Now, this is all internal to Dynamics. This could be considered to be pre-PSA. Again, if you're looking at this as an organization that instead of doing sales is doing demand management for new project ideas, same things would apply. You'd leverage the exact same widgets and dashboard construction capability. You would just alter the measures you would use. But the short is that it's all available in one place. So opportunities that are coming in terms of qualification, development, and proposal will then be moved through to projects. And once they become projects, none of that information is lost. It's all still right there available for whoever needs to see it, to look at it and use it to deliver successfully. Project planning. As you can see, we do have a workflow across the top. This is completely configurable, and it can be whatever you can have multiple workflows that go from a sales workflow, for example, to a project delivery workflow, to a closeout workflow. You can have them unified all in a workflow. You can set qualification or quantifiable items that need to be certified as passed in order to move from one workflow stage to the next. You are able to construct a work breakdown structure just like you would expect. You are able to work with Gantt charts, again, just like you would be able to expect. Again, knowing that all of this then will plug back into your contracts and the agreements you made during the sales process. Resource management, this being a huge and key issue for many, many organizations. How do I ensure that people are working on as much as they can, but not too much? And can I make those adjustments all in one place? Can I make those adjustments in parallel with what the project managers are planning? Can I sit and can I work in an environment that looks and feels like what I'm doing in Excel? These are all things that we support in the Dynamics PSA solution. Team collaboration, very important to everybody. Of course, as a Microsoft product and part of the Microsoft suite, we do integrate with Microsoft Teams. So the niceties of Teams and document management and conversations, OneNote notebooks, all available, and co-authoring, all available to support team collaboration. Time and expenses. Nobody ever likes talking about time and expenses. Nobody likes doing time and expenses. However, they are a very important part of business. In Dynamics, we do the absolute level best we can to make this a painful and enjoyable process for people. And by expenses, we also mean things like billable expenses that have to go back to clients, and of course, the basics of time entry for statusing projects as well. And at the same time, we do support a mobile experience, which obviously means that people can have the thrill of doing their time entry at the grocery store after they're done with work if they forgot to do it when they were leaving. Customer billing, we generate an invoice out of PSA. Very important if you're running a professional services organization to get to the invoice level. It's not an accounting system, so the invoice is intended to be consumed by whatever accounting system you're using. The nice thing about this is, again, though, if you have an internal project, there's a lot of granularity that's available to do internal billing and chargebacks if that's what you want as well. Again, it's a matter of configuration. The important thing to know is that invoicing capability is there and at the level of detail that you would expect to be consumed properly by an accounting system. Finally, analytics and integration. Again, the whole thing comes together because this is all one product and one platform. across whatever business system you want. The analytics are available without you having to go to multiple places in order to recombine whatever information you need in a dashboard that will support executive planning. So with that, Joe, I'm going to pass it over to you for a demo. I'm going to make sure that I can make you the presenter.
Let's see here.
Let me know if you get it.
I got it. Let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see your screen.
Great. Thanks, Scott. Okay, so thank you, Scott, for that introduction. I think that was very helpful in understanding the foundation of Dynamics and how it fits within a professional services organization. And what I'll do now is just kind of walk you through a live demonstration of the product now. As Scott had mentioned, Dynamics is completely built into the Microsoft Cloud ecosystem. And what that means, it's not only a platform for business applications, it's actually tied into your Office 365 applications as well. So if you're on Office 365 and you have your email and your OneDrive and your Teams, Dynamics 365 is fully integrated in your productivity suite. The other point to Dynamics is, as Scott had mentioned, it is a business application platform. So not only does it provide the abilities around project service automation, it also provides other applications that could be directed at different groups in your organization. For example, your sales organization, as we'll go through today, or maybe your customer services to doing cases or incidents with your customers or internal IT. We have field service automation. So if you have people that are out in the field and you're trying to schedule time for them to get to job sites and provide work for other customers. So as you'll see here, there's just a variety of different applications that you can add to the platform itself. Also, Scott mentioned project portfolio management for PMOs or internal ITs, and we'll have a separate webinar specifically on that. But today we're really just talking about is the professional services, what we call the project service automation. The other part of the value of an integrated platform integrated into Microsoft Cloud is the ability to get visibility into all the data that you need in one place. So kind of just starting off here as the practice director or the owner of the business, when I log into Dynamics, I can come into a dashboard here and quickly see, how are we doing as a business? What is our overall total revenue by month? What's our gross margin trend looking like? What's our gross margin as of today? I can drill into, things like how much have we booked on each account, how much we've invoiced, what's total paid, what is our accounts receivables. And as Scott mentioned, this is not your financial system per se, but as a professional service organization, you get to use this data as driving information of should we provide more work for a customer if they're not paying invoices. And so you really get good visibility into your customers from a project management standpoint without having to really drill into a financial system itself. But what's nice is not only you get the typical financial from a PSA standpoint, as we scroll down here, you'll see that we have a number of risks that are going on. So we have 5 open risks in our system. And then we're looking at a number of trends by time of issues. Are we getting more issues than we're resolving? Are issues starting to decrease? And so we can also then drill into timesheet hours by period and number of late tasks. Are late tasks increasing? Are we falling behind more on projects? And resource availability and allocation, who's over allocated, who's under allocated. So as a practice director, I can come right to my dashboard here and quickly see all the key things that I, as a practice manager or a COO or a CFO wants to be able to see right here in my single dashboard. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about reporting at the end, but I just wanted to really kind of set the presence that this is a fully integrated solution, not only with Office 365 and the Microsoft Cloud, but also your business applications. I'm also going to expand here. The left-hand side is the navigation of this particular app. And you'll see as we walk down the navigation, the power that the solution has in itself. So just kind of starting off with my work, where typical team members would interact on a daily basis, either coming in and looking at information about what they're doing, but they can actually access their My Work and provide status on tasks that they're working on or need to work on. They have your timesheets. You can request time off. Scott mentioned expenses, where you might want to report non-labor expenses. Then we move into kind of the demand management process, where we're capturing demand. And one of the nice things, again, about Dynamics being a platform is, in PSA, our professional services organization, typically opportunities are the demand, right? It's sales or account executives out there looking for opportunity, and that's the demand being generated for the for the organization. But you also sometimes have a mixture of internal requests as well. So you in the same system here could actually capture in requests for specific projects for your internal team to do, maybe reprocess engineering, maybe create some document templates. And so you want to be able to capture both external and internal types of demand on your organization. Going down now the list here, you'll see we have now get into a little bit more of the project and portfolio management. So as you're capturing in this demand of opportunities and requests, you might want to do some prioritization on that. Now, typically in a PSA organization, you typically take what you get. And so you don't do a lot of prioritizing or selection of projects. But there is an interesting case too when you are a PSA organization is trying to understand who or what types of project, who and what type of projects are providing you the best return from an investment standpoint. And so you might want to get more disciplined as your maturity grows to be really selective on the types of projects you take on to make sure you guys are maximizing your profitability and customer satisfaction. So we'll dive into a little bit of this, but this is really around being able to prioritize what projects you should be working on if you wanted to maximize your revenue and return. Obviously, we have portfolio and project management, which we'll dig into where you're managing issues and risks and changes. And then from that point, looking at resource management, how to resource management balance out the resource load and make sure everybody's allocated, all the way out to orders and invoices, right? So being able to bill your customers. So this is kind of just an example of a navigation that you could get with Dynamics. So since we're doing a project service automation demonstration today, I'm going to go ahead and just focus in more on that process where I'm going to look at opportunities. And so here you'll see here a list of opportunities as an account executive that I am managing. And quickly here, I can get a summary view of what the opportunities are, who the customers are, what the estimated close dates might be, estimated revenue, probability, rating. And so this kind of gives me a quick view of things that I need to be working on. I'm going to go ahead and drill into one of these. So I'm going to drill into the VoIP phones one, and you'll see here now that I've drilled into VoIP phones opportunity. I can get key metadata around the opportunity itself. What's the purchasing time frame? Who are the sponsors? I can get a history around the emails that I've been sending to this customer, the interactions that are happening with this customer. I can get an idea if things have slowed down, and it'll start to notify me on my relationship insight. I can see who the stakeholder is for this particular opportunity, anybody else that's supporting me, and any competitors I need to be aware of. As Scott mentioned earlier, all of these entities in Dynamics have the ability to have specific stage gates or workflows built into them. So you'll see right now that this VoIP phones is sitting in a qualified stage, and you'll see that the system has been set up to identify certain key elements before it can be moved to the proposed stage. So I need to identify who the contact is, identify the account, I need to know the purchasing time frame, estimated budget, so forth, before I can actually move this to the next stage. So there's ways that you can control governancing and process as you move things through each stage. I'm going to go ahead and so assume that we're starting to work this out. I'm going to go into the next step of this within Dynamics is the ability to go into quotes. And so you'll see here I've been working with this particular customer, and I've given them a quote for $10,999. They obviously wanted some additional capabilities, so we sent them another quote for $46,650. And that is what they have agreed to move forward with. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the quote. So now what we're doing is we're moving from managing opportunities, move them through that pipe, to now creating quotes that we're able to send out to the customer for review. And what's nice about the ability to create quotes is, not only we have the metadata around where would the order go to and what the quote is about, we can drill into the details around the quote. So you'll see here we have our services that we're providing here. So we're providing $45,000 and $666 in services, and we're also selling them a product here for one plan for 5 quantities at $200, so for $999. So we're both services as well as product in this particular quote. We also can do some profit analysis on it. So how profitable is this quote? Is this something we want to continue to push forward, or we want to redo analysis on it? And so in this quote, we get this in-depth information here. So assuming that this quote has now been approved and it's won, as it showed there in the status field, what happens is this quote, once it's converted to one, actually becomes a sales contract. And so the sales contract is what gets established as what has been agreed to and what is going to be communicated to the project management system for rates and deliverables and the billing type. So now this contract is actually the converted quote to actual contract. So in here, you'll also be able to see the contract performance, the details contract lines that came over from the quote itself. But really, the part of this is really connecting that contract, which was the quote, to the project itself, which we're here to really talk about today. And so you'll see if I click on projects here, you'll see that I have, where'd it go? It was, sorry, wrong view here. Where'd it go? Oh, maybe I clicked on the wrong projects. There it is. Sorry about that. As you'll see here, is I actually have a project plan attached to this particular order or contract. And so I can actually drill into that particular project right from the contract itself. So before I go further, I just wanted to step back and talk about how we first came in and we looked at an opportunity, and we specifically drilled into an opportunity itself. We had quotes associated to that opportunity that we were sending to the customer for review. A customer agrees to a specific quote, so then we converted that quote into a contract. That contract becomes the official agreement with the customer, which is then what is communicated to the project management system as the agreeable rates and agreeable deliverables and so forth. Now, I didn't have to drill all the way through, but I wanted to kind of show you how everything is associated through the process. I can actually come to a project portfolio if I wanted to, look at all the projects that I'm managing, see the current status of those projects, and also drill in it from that perspective as well. So I'll click on the exact same project we were just on a minute ago. So there are different ways to get at the solution itself, but what I was showing was the connection between sales and delivery, right, which is very critical in a PSA or a professional services organization. All right, so now that we're in the project itself, you can quickly see here metadata and information around the project itself here. So along the left-hand side, you see who the project manager is. You can see the contracting unit. You can see the contract that it's associated to, right? We talked about, and the opportunity we drilled into earlier. So we have all the associated information here. But we also have other key information in here as well. So we have, what's the work progress? What was the estimated hours for this? What have we spent to date? What's estimated to complete? What's the spend progress, which is really around the cost of this particular project itself. So the project is going to cost us $34,000 against what is our revenue progress on this. So our projection is to make $56,000 on revenue against our $34,000 in cost for this particular project, which then essentially gets you to your margin of 40% on this particular project if all goes well. On the left-hand side here, you'll see the schedule status. What was the estimated start, finish, what have we actually started to and finished towards, so you can see if we're on schedule. And then as I mentioned below here, you also have the ability to add prioritization to the project. So, again, for both internal and external customer-facing projects, you might want to be able to understand, is this something that's strategic for us? Is this somewhere where it's helping us move our business in the direction that we want to move to? This way, when we do reporting, we can really get an analysis of what projects are providing the best profitability, and are we moving the business in the direction that we want to move to. The next part of the project planning I wanted to walk you through is really kind of the status report. So what's nice here in Dynamics is everything's built into this form factor where I've looked at my project overall information. Now I may want to report some status. And so you'll see here I have both manual statusing, so I can say this project's now going at risk. I also have some calculated status where this project might be scheduled performance is on time, but it might be behind schedule. Same with costs. These are all pre-calculated. I get to put my narratives in for the month or the week here, as well as I can manage my project issues, risks, changes here all in one single view. Then essentially giving me my analysis of how things are going on a monthly basis for this particular project. So this becomes your status report for your project itself. Next step here is really to look in and drill into more of the schedule and the plan, the resource load. So I'm gonna go ahead and click onto the planning component of the project. And this is where I'm gonna take the contract itself out and build out a project schedule. So I'm gonna go ahead and click here on grid. And here you'll see we can break out a basic traditional waterfall type of project. So we have our planning phase, and underneath that, set up project environment. We can see the duration, the timeline, who might be assigned to the project, the roles. I might want to add in a Gantt, so if I wanted to see something a little bit more visual, I can add in a Gantt chart here as well. The other nice thing about this is the ability to kind of socialize with your team. So I can make a real quick comment to Daniel here and saying, how are we doing on this? So we can socialize with the team members that are working on it. But the other thing that when it comes down to planning and PSA is, obviously you want to keep the schedule and the timeline at a high enough level that you can manage to a budget, right, and to a forecast, and so people can report time at that level. And you don't want to get too far into the weeds. So one of the nice things about project service here is the ability to kind of do what we call a bimodal hybrid type of approach to show activities underneath the task. So if I'm looking at prepare facilities, I can actually create a bunch of to-dos that need to get done underneath there, and it has nothing to do with the costing of that particular timeline. It's just things that need to get done within that time and schedule. So you have the ability to build out a to-do list and allow you to kind of manage the progress of those through a more of a Kanban type of approach. Obviously, because we're tied into rates and into the resource costs, you can actually see the breakdown of what the total cost of the project and the revenue based on your project plan here in the schedule as well. Now, I'm going to touch a little bit on other components of this, typically more used in IT and internal types of projects, but we do see PSA organizations using it as well. So the scenario here is if you weren't sure of the detailed schedule yet and you just wanted to build out a high-level resource plan so that you could say, hey, these are the types of resources I think I need on here, you can actually build out what we call a capacity resource plan. If you're trying to manage the financials to more of a G&L level, where you're trying to manage in labor, materials, travel, software, and you're trying to build out a forecast, you can build out your budgeting forecast here as well. And then obviously by putting in your schedules and your resource plans, you can have a resource plan schedule in your project as well here. And we'll touch into this when we get to the resource management part. Okay, so really if you're looking at this, again, recapping, we've created our opportunities, created the contracts, we now built in the project plan, we have some statusing, we've entered our issues and risks and changes, we have our schedule, we have our resource plan, our financial plan. And so the next part of this was to show you if you were interested in trying to do some prioritization around these projects and trying to understand which projects you might want to be selective with, you can actually use portfolio analysis capabilities to be able to go in and do some modeling with it. So I'm going to quickly touch on this because it's not so traditional in PSA, but it's just something I wanted to show as ability to kind of prioritize that stuff. So one of the things here, I'm going to go click on a model, and I'm going to bring up a project online model that's leveraged here in the Dynamics because everything's all integrated as a single platform. But what you'll see here is if I had $25 million budget, or if I wanted to say this much revenue I wanted to get, these are all the projects I'd be able to select. But if we wanted to do some budget constraints around some budgeting constraints, it would be, for example, if I only had $10 million to spend, which projects should I move out? And the system's smart enough and understands the priorities of these projects based on those prioritization scores we gave earlier to know which ones to bump out based on the constraints. But now in PSA, cost isn't typically a driver or constraint, it's usually resources. So this would be a scenario of, okay, let me move to the resource constraint. So now I have all these projects that are going on, and I need to know, can we get these projects done on time and within on budget? And so what the portfolio analysis modeler will do, it will actually come in and say, based on the number of resources you have and based on the plans that you've just set up, we think these two projects will not get done on time, or these are projects that are not going to get efficiently done. So what you can do in the modeler itself is you can do some what-ifing. So you can move dates around. So you can say, what if I change the start date of this project out to March of next year? Will that help with us getting these projects done? Or what if we hire people? And so I actually can come into here as well and do some what-ifing. If we go out and hire 2 more people, will it move any of these projects into getting done? And so it thinks that we can get the Windows 7 compliance project done on time with the right resources. And then obviously you want to know, which resources do I need to hire in order to get that particular Windows 7's project done. And it's going to tell you need to hire these 2 developers. This is when they need to start, and these are the projects they need to work on. So it starts to give you some intelligence around the right people to hire and when to hire them. But there will be more on this in more detail around in our project portfolio management demonstration. But I thought it would be useful from a professional services standpoint to be able to really use that modeling tool to be able to understand what the risks are of which projects are not getting done, and also giving you insights of people you need to hire in order to make sure your projects are adequately staffed. All right. All right, so we've gone through the opportunity through the process of contracting. We've created our projects. We even did some what-if analysis on can we get them all done on time, what projects are at risk. If I had to kill a project, which project should I kill? Now we're moving into execution. And so the next step of the demonstration really just want to kind of show you a resource manager's view of being able to come in and be able to review resource requests or look at resource allocation overall to be able to provide some feedback on is our team being fully utilized or appropriately utilized. And so you'll see here as a resource manager now, I've logged into the scheduler and I can quickly see my team that I manage, and I can see their allocation by right now weeks, but I could switch it to months or years or days. And maybe I want to kind of look at a specific group. I'm focusing in on either a department, but I'm going to actually focus in on a role. So I'm going to look at my business analyst team and say, how are they doing overall as a team? And I can quickly see who's under allocated and who's over allocated. So I can quickly see by switching this to percentage. I can quickly see Erwin here is 200% over allocated and probably won't be able to get all the work that's being asked of Erwin done. So this is where a resource manager can come in, review that. They can add a comment to the project manager saying, hey, should we move Erwin out, right, or whatever it might be. Or a resource manager actually can contribute by moving things around if permissions allow things around. So if I wanted to take this particular item and move it down to Lisa, I could do that and remove the allocation off of Erwin. So it's a nice way to be able to kind of communicate and collaborate with project managers. Now, if I also wanted to see a grouping of these resources by departments, I can also do that as well. So I can go over here and say I want to group by roles. And I can quickly see what resources are over allocated or under allocated here as well in the specific view. So this is how a resource manager can work with a project manager in making sure that the right resources are on the project, the right resources are being fully allocated and not over allocated, and this is where they would communicate with the project manager. Now that the assignments have been set, the resource manager has approved the time that's being sent. Now it's up for the team member to come in and report status. So either they can report my work by saying these tasks are completed, or this is when I'm going to get them done, or they can come in and more traditionally in a PSA system, enter in their time. So here you'll see I'm logged in and I'm in my timesheet, and you'll see I have a few tasks that are in my timesheet. I have the ability to indicate are they billable or non-billable. It's configurable. This, if you wanted to add in funded or complementary type of work. And in this particular configuration, we have regular and overtime, so we can manage how much of the time was regular and how much of the time was overtime. And you also see across the left here is a progress bar of how many hours were actually allocated to that particular line item. So this is what I have to bill out. I have 20 hours to bill. I've already billed, and I have in my timesheet now 8. So this helps communicate to the team member that they've actually overextended on this particular task. So you'll see this particular task here, site conversion, was budgeted for 16 hours, and they've already spent 29.5 hours on it. So this might be something we want to flag or turn off as a billable item in the timesheet. So what we kind of touched on here is the ability to kind of do the roundabout from an opportunity or a request, being able to turn that into a definable contract. Once it was a contract, we were able to make it into a project, build out our project details, like our schedule, our resource plan, some financial plans. We were able to share that with our resource manager for a resource manager to provide status on what resources should be assigned or who's overallocated or underallocated. And then we were able to report time against that particular task or project as well. So the last area I was going to touch on today was really around reporting and showing some of the reports that are in the system. So one of the power of the Microsoft ecosystem is the ability to leverage the tools Microsoft provides, and one of the powerful reporting tools that Microsoft has is a Power BI reporting solution. And this is where it allows managers to go in and build out a variety of reports that are appropriate for your organization. So here's one that we built off of here that allows you to come in and get understanding of your strategy, your roadmap, your budgets, and so forth. But I'm actually going to jump over here to a portfolio view where I can look at a list of my projects. I can look at them by portfolio or customers. I can see the overall status, how many projects are off track, how many issues are overdue, how many schedules are behind, or how many projects are behind schedule, and be able to get a portfolio view of my particular project. I also can get some timeline views of where everything is sitting within the process, our stage gates. I can get a schedule view. We talked about financials earlier. So you can get all variety of reports here in Power BI from Dynamics. Go ahead and switch to a different view here. I'm sorry, report. And so we can show things like project costs. We talk about project status. So if we wanted to see a status report on a specific project, here's our VoIP project. We get an overall status report that we can send to a customer. This is kind of a one-pager that gets sent to the customer, upcoming tasks, overdue tasks, issues, risks. But you also can drill into more detail around that particular project itself to find out more details. So you're looking at your schedule information, your financial information around the project, cost, the resource load, and obviously issues, risks, and changes. You also might want to look at, maybe you want to look at some resource management reports across the organization. So we can drill into resource statusing here. So as a resource manager, I might want to just come right into this particular report and view. And I can quickly see based on my team, what's the overall availability, what's my workload versus capacity, who is highly over allocated, and then who is not being allocated at all. And so I can do some filtering and grouping. So if I wanted to look at a specific group, like let's take, again, our business analysts and kind of narrow that down, I can quickly see that only 24%, I only have 24% availability from my business analysts. I can see where there's some over allocation. I can drill in some of the utilization. So what's the utilization look like on a monthly basis, quarterly basis? What we have for committed versus planned. So obviously a resource manager can come in here and get a whole variety of different reports in the system as well. And then the last report I'll touch on, and then I'm gonna turn it back over to Scott, is maybe we're looking at some timesheet reports. So last report here, I'll just click on is being able to do some analysis on where people are spending time, how many timesheets that are open for approval, how many are in progress, so from a compliance standpoint. And so you'll see here quickly from a PSA standpoint, I can see where hours are being charged, where they are within the approval process, the compliance of them, as I mentioned earlier, which ones are billable, non-billable. And so we can get a good sense of how healthy we are from an actual timesheet and deliverable standpoint. So what I'm going to do here is turn this back over to you, Scott.
Thank you, Joe.
Let's make you presenter, I think. There we go.
All right, let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see it.
Awesome. One of the things that I want to kind of say, thank you, Joe, for that demo. These demos are always better when they're interactive. If you guys were watching this and you saw something you'd really like to ask more questions about, we'd absolutely love to schedule a more direct session on the benefits of leveraging PSA and Dynamics. Performance and maturity process are tightly linked. This applies both to internal and external systems, as we've kind of talked about routinely. But the important thing is that if you're watching this and you said, look, we have these basic mechanical problems, for example, around whatever it is, resource capacity planning, time entry, matching up work that gets done to contracts. Those are all important things and areas of improvement, but we're able to look at these things and quantify them and build a business case that where you can then start and say, instead of solving problems or pulling a stick out of someone's eye, you can actually start to talk about the benefits of moving forward and doing this and present this as an opportunity to reap return on investment instead of simply make certain things less onerous. In summary, there's a lot of organizations that are still working with spreadsheets to do a lot of these things. It's amazing what an impact implementing a proper system can have on an organization. Again, making things that should be easy, actually easy, freeing people to focus on things that are more important, like satisfying the people that are asking for your organization to do things. We would like now to kind of remind you, we work for a company called Wicrosoft. We are a full service project and business management solution provider. We have been doing this for a long time. A lot of what we do, frankly, is quite low risk. It can start out small. We don't have to walk in and do a giant on-site implementation anymore. Very easy to start things from a technical perspective and move forward more gradually or all at once. It depends on what your approach is. The key being, of course, that it's a lower risk proposition than it has been in the past. We are a joint venture started by Microsoft. We are a global company. We are a fairly large company. The group that focuses on these things is not as large for sure, but we are a big company, so we have a long track record of success. And we do multiple things. We do both the professional services piece, but we also have an extensive education and training library. We do post-launch support, and we also, as I said earlier, can talk about this in terms of business results and optimization, not just in terms of the mechanics of solving problems you might have. I'd like to leave you with the idea that we are happy to talk to you about your PSA requirements for free. We are happy to work with you on a trial of Dynamics 365 for project service automation. Our email address, if you want to contact us, I think that you've all responded to this, you probably know how to get a hold of us, but if you would like to go further, contact us at wicrosoft.com. And with that, we have come to the end of our webinar. Mike, is there anything that you would like to wrap up with?
Hey, Scott. No, I'm good.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us throughout this webinar. We look forward to hearing from you.